Hey there, guys. So I wanted to start over again because I had a little bit of an issue with the other stream that I was doing. So we're going to start back from the beginning. I apologize about that, but we're going to start back from the beginning and I'm going to go through everything and explain, everything that I was discussing related to this live stream. As always, check out my website, bponlinefitness.com. Ton of information related to fitness, nutrition, recovery, as well as just anything health related. You can check out my fitness blog, sign up for my email newsletter, as well as stay updated with the various live streams that I do and any videos that I post. So let's go ahead and get started and try this again. So what we're talking about today is macro counting and macronutrient goals. So there are a wide range of topics that we're going to really discuss today and go over. So, some of the topics that we're going to discuss is macro counting, setting macronutrient goals, tools and apps for meal tracking, serving sizes and calories, daily value, otherwise known as DV, and common mistakes for macronutrients. So, some of the topics we're going to talk about today do sort of relate to various things related to food labels, of course, meal tracking and things of that nature. So, we are, of course, going to primarily talk about macronutrients, and I'll explain exactly what macronutrients are. But there's going to be some other topics that we're going to touch on to as well in this stream. So, keep that in mind. So, getting started here, we do want to sort of define exactly what macronutrients are and what is macro counting. So, whether your goal is to lose fat, build muscle, or maintain your current weight, calculating your macronutrients, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, that's what your macronutrients are, ensures you're providing your body with the right amounts of fuel and nutrients. Everyone has different needs based on factors like age, activity level, body composition, and goals. By calculating your macros, you customize your diet to fit your specific needs. Simply cutting calories can sometimes lead to a lack of balance in your diet. When you calculate macros, you ensure you're consuming the right amounts of essential nutrients your body needs to function optimally. So, again, macronutrients are called macronutrients because they are nutrients that are consumed in large amount and the body needs these specific nutrients in a large amount as well. And again, these are carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. These are essential nutrients that you need to track if you are somebody who's focusing on a particular nutrition or fitness based goal. So keep that in mind. So what I want to mention next is how you set up your macronutrient goals. And again, these can vary depending on your specific goal. The primary different goals that I have here in mind to sort of give you a summary, of what you should focus on if that's your specific goal is weight loss, muscle gain, and maintenance. So what I want to discuss is these points at the top first. So, calculating your total daily energy expenditure. And basically, what total daily energy expenditure is the energy that your body uses in a day in order to sort of keep your body functioning. That's basically what the total daily energy expenditure is. It's how much calories your body is using in a day for any particular daily, you know, day, that you have, excuse me, any particular day you live, you are calculating that total daily energy expenditure. And that's how much calories your body is using for that specific day. So, another thing to keep in mind is basal metabolic rate. So, this is basically the energy that is required in order for your body to function properly. This is what the basal metabolic rate is. And you would basically calculate that based on your activity level. How active you are is sort of going to determine that basal metabolic rate. So, keep in mind that a lot of this is going to vary depending on how active you are and how much foods you consume. This is going to just vary depending on those specific metrics. Again, like this can relate to age. This can also relate to you know how much food you consume, how active you are, any health conditions you may have that could make an effect as well on sort of how to calculate this. An example is 2,000 calories a day. This is mainly for maintenance. A lot of times, 2,000 calories a day is a good maintenance-based goal. So you would use that total daily expenditure as your baseline down here, as we mentioned with maintenance. So let's talk a little bit about weight loss and muscle gain. One thing that is very important to keep in mind when it comes to weight loss and muscle gain is that they're a tad different in how you sort of calculate them. So muscle gain, you would add 10 to 20% to your TDEE. So you're going to add more calories above what your basal metabolic rate would be. So, and two, with muscle gain, you're likely going to be more active. So what I always mention with my clients, especially when they're focusing on a muscle gain based goal, is that they, of course, need to focus primarily on a caloric surplus, or otherwise known as bulking in another term. But a caloric surplus is what is needed to help efficiently get to a muscle gain goal. And the reason being is your body needs the proper nutrients to function and to be able to help with the muscle repair and recovery throughout your workouts. When you're doing your workouts, your body is going through a lot of stress. And so when it's going through that stress, your body needs the proper amount of nutrients, especially protein. Protein is a big aspect when it comes to muscle gain, and consuming a proper amount is going to help give the body what it needs in order to repair the muscles and to help build more muscle. So you're going to have more calories that you consume when you're focusing on muscle gain. Now, when we're talking about weight loss, this is the direct opposite. So with weight loss, you're going to focus primarily on a calorie deficit. So you're noticing that with the weight loss, we're subtracting 10 to 20% from our total daily energy expenditure. Whereas with the muscle gain, we're adding. And that's the big difference. With weight loss, we're primarily focusing on calorie deficit. So we're consuming less calories, than we would consume when it comes to muscle gain. And this is, of course, helping to aid in that weight loss process. However, when we do focus on, cutting back on calories, we still want to focus on having a proper balance with our macronutrients. And the reason being is that you still need to focus on sustaining muscle while still losing fat. That's what you should really focus on when you're doing a weight loss goal. So consuming protein can be, is consuming the right amount of protein, even with weight loss, can be a great option because protein does help keep you more full. It is more satiating than a lot of other, types of nutrients. So even in that sense, you would still consume a good amount of protein, even if you were focusing on weight loss. But again, you need to keep in mind that your calorie intake is going to be slightly lower than you would with muscle gain. Muscle gain is going to be, usually when we're talking about muscle gain, again, this can range, but usually with muscle gain, it's usually 2,500 calories to 3,000. That's usually sort of the range that we're focusing on when we're talking about muscle gain. And then it's going to be the direct opposite when we're talking about weight loss. We're going to lower our calorie intake. However, we still want to have the proper amount of macronutrients in our diet at the same time, even if we're focusing on lowering our calorie intake. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, we're talking about calculating total daily energy expenditure. To sort of reiterate that and sort of to just give you a clear picture and just to make sure that you are understanding sort of what we're talking about here. So the total daily energy expenditure again is the nutrients that your body uses in a day, or the calories that your body uses in a day. The basal metabolic rate again is basically the calories that your body needs in order to function. So these are a little bit different. So the basal metabolic rate again is what the calories your body is using to function. And then the total daily energy expenditure is overall the calories that your body uses in a day. So these are a little bit different, so just keep that in mind. And again, going back to the maintenance phase that I just mentioned there, the maintenance phase is more focused on keeping a balance in your macros as well as, having a good balance with your calorie intake. If you're just focusing on you're not really focusing on particularly gaining more muscle or losing weight, you just want to be in a maintenance, then you're going to be in that general baseline of 2,000 calories. So just keep that in mind. So the next point here is some of the tools and apps for macro tracking. So there's various different apps that you can try out that you can use when it comes to tracking workouts and as well as macros, of course. So one of the apps that I use pretty often is MyFitnessPal. This is an easy to use app with a large food database and excellent tracking features for both beginners and advanced users. You can use this app as a way to track your macronutrients. I use it daily. You don't even have to pay for the app at all in order to use this and to track your nutrients daily. I don't even pay for what I use the app for. As long as you're getting a basic general view of your macronutrients or of your nutrition, that's all you really need to focus on. You don't really need anything too fancy when it comes to tracking. You can also Another thing that I do use MyFitnessPal with is being able to integrate it with Apple Watch and Fitbit. So you can usually integrate these together and you can see an overall look all together in one specific app. Like if you're using Apple, you can use the health app and whatever you calculate on MyFitnessPal will automatically go into the health app on Apple. If you're using Fitbit, I've used Fitbit as well. I've used both Apple Watch and Fitbit, so I do have an experience with both of them. If you're using with Fitbit, you actually have this, you can integrate MyFitnessPal into your Fitbit app and it'll automatically calculate all of your all of your nutrition tracking will automatically populate as you track it in MyFitnessPal. So you don't necessarily actually track in MyFitnessPal. What you track in MyFitnessPal, you can have it connected and it'll automatically populate into the app. So that's a great way to sort of streamline things, have everything in one place. That's really important. Again, I think this is a great app. You don't have to pay to use the tracking feature of it. It's really simple. There are extra features that you can use, but I don't pay for that aspect of the app. I just use the basics, and then it gives me a general guideline or a general look at how my nutrition is throughout the day of what I'm tracking. Fitbit, of course, I've used the Fitbit app. This is ideal for Fitbit users. If you use a Fitbit, it is allowing you to combine nutrition, exercise, and sleep data in one platform. Apple Watch does a similar thing. Again, the health app is one aspect of Apple Watch that sort of integrates your nutrition side of things. So it's a little bit different. The platforms are somewhat different, but they do have some similarities in tracking. So most apps allow for customized nutrition goals based on your specific needs, weight loss, and muscle gain. You can barcode scan and do searchable databases to make it easy to log meals accurately. So there's a ton of other apps. I'm not too familiar with a few of them, but I know that there is an app that you can try now that you can actually take a picture of the food that or the meal that you're about to eat, and it'll automatically calculate how many macronutrients are in that based on the picture that you've taken. I don't know exactly how accurate that specific sort of app is, but there's a lot of different options out there to sort of get a general, view of your macronutrients and of the calories you're consuming. So another thing you want to keep in mind when it comes to tracking macronutrients is it's going to help you to keep track of your long-term trends in your diet and adjust based on your goals. This is one thing that I mentioned to a lot of my clients is that when you start to track, and I know with there's certain people where it's very difficult to really get into the habit of tracking, but it is essential to do because you get to notice the trends along the way. You notice trends in what you consume day to day, and it helps you to make adjustments on, what you've done in the past. If what you consumed in the past wasn't, maybe you were kind of off with your diet one day, it helps you to see that long-term trend and to see what you need to change in your diet to help you stay on track towards your end goal, whatever that goal may be. That's something I always mention to my clients. It's important. It helps you see the long-term trend of your nutrition. So by logging meals consistently, you become more mindful of your eating habits. It's helping you be mindful of what you eat. It has helped me a ton. Whenever I started tracking nutrition, it made a big difference. And especially if you have a goal you're shooting for, it's going to make a ton of difference if you're tracking that. And a lot of people, they don't reach their goals because they're not tracking their nutrition. They don't have a clear plan when it comes to their nutrition. They're not focusing on, consuming enough calories or consuming less calories. They're just kind of going about it without any sort of blueprint. And you have to have a clear blueprint and you have to have a clear plan in order to reach that end goal. And that's something that I just really want to get across is that you have to have an idea of what you're going after and you have to keep track of what you're doing day to day in order to get to that goal. So this next few points are going to touch a little bit when we're talking about sort of nutrition labels and things of that nature. These are likely terms that you're going to see on nutrition labels. So serving sizes and calories. So serving size is of course the standard amount of food the nutrition information refers to. This is usually cups, grams, or pieces. So serving size is normally on the top of a food label, you're likely going to see it. So why is knowing the serving size important? So all of the listed values, calories, macronutrients, etc., are based on this serving size. So eating more or less than this amount changes the intake. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. So your serving size is going to be calculated based on that specific amount of food, yeah, whether that's food or drink. And this is going to give you, a good guidance on your overall intake. Calories is the amount of energy provided by one serving. So this is how much of that specific serving you consume is how much calories you're going to get from that food. So the amount of energy provided by one serving, why it's important. Calories contribute to weight gain or weight loss. Eating in a surplus, I should say, leads to weight gain, while eating in a deficit leads to fat loss. Again, like I talked about just a few minutes ago, when you're talking about fat loss, you want to consume less calories, whereas with muscle gain, you want to consume more calories, and that's a big difference there. So daily value. You've likely seen this on any nutrition labels as well. So daily value indicates how much nutrition, or excuse me, nutrient a serving of food contributes to your daily diet based on the general recommendations of 2,000 calories per day. So you're likely going to see that on any food label you see. It's going to say usually based on a 2,000 calorie a day diet, and that's what that means. So this percentage helps you gauge whether the food is high or low in a particular nutrient. So let me go back to this 2,000 calorie a day sort of recommendation. What you need to keep in mind is that any of the daily values that you see or any of the nutrients that you see are going to be based on a 2,000 calorie a day diet. So if you're focusing on, a specific goal, you want to take that into account. So that's only based on that particular recommendation. So it's not basing it, of course, on your particular goal. If your particular goal is to focus on, consuming maybe 2,500 calories or 3,000 calories, if you're focusing on muscle gain, you need to put in consideration that that daily value is going to be a little bit different for you in particular. So that's something I do want to mention. In the same way for fat loss, that daily value is going to change in the same way. So, for example, fat loss, you're going to be consuming less than 2,000 calories a day, likely. So, put that into consideration, especially for that goal, because when it comes to fat loss, you do really need to monitor a little bit more than you would muscle gain because of the aspect of it being based on 2,000 calories. So, you're going to be subtracting when it comes to fat loss. So just keep that in mind that that'll give you a good idea on what you need to be aware of. So 5% daily value or less is considered low for that nutrient. So this is what you'll likely see on a food label. 20% daily value or more is considered high for that nutrient. So fats, let's sort of discuss what fats, proteins, and carbs do. So fats aim to meet fat needs primarily through healthy fats, unsaturated fats, and limited saturated and trans fats. So you're going to see that on food labels as well, where it'll say saturated fats, unsaturated fats, things of that nature. So you do want to limit your saturated and trans fats. You've likely heard that before. So just keep that in the back of your head. Carbs, you're going to adjust carb intake depending on your fitness goals. So for an endurance athletes or those on high intensity trainings, your carb intake is going to be higher. Again, when we're talking about like carb intake and carbs in general, carbs are used for energy. They do help with energy. So that's why you're going to consume more carbs if you're somebody focusing on endurance. Protein, many people aiming for muscle gain or recovery from exercise may need more protein than daily value of 50 grams suggests. So again, that's going back to that daily value. If your goal is muscle gain, you're going to likely consume more than the daily value that is showing on there. You're going to want to consume more than that because your goal is different. Your goal is not particularly 2,000 calories a day. And that's just what I want to clear up. So keep that in mind when you're seeing daily value and you're looking at those labels, that that's what you need to sort of be aware of. And so it's going to change depending on your needs. So yes, those nutrition labels are there for your reference, but you do need to keep in mind what you're focusing on. If you have a particular goal, really pay attention to what you're focusing on. So macronutrient breakdown. So I talked a little bit about, touched a little bit on the macronutrients themselves, but what I want to talk about next is some of the different macronutrients, and you're likely going to see some of these terms on food labels as well. So, like I just mentioned, we're talking about macronutrients, but we're touching a little bit on food labels at the same time. So, total fat. So, this is what you're going to see on a food label. This can include saturated or unsaturated, as well as trans fats. So choosing unsaturated fats is oftentimes known as the healthier fats. And then at the same time, you want to limit saturated trans fats, which can raise cholesterol levels. So those are the fats that you want to generally avoid, and the unsaturated fats are basically the healthier fats to choose. Total carbohydrates. So where you're going to see carbohydrates come from is usually sugars, fiber, and starches. So look for high fiber content and limited added sugars. With my diet, I consume a lot of fiber. I mean, that's a lot of my diet. And that's because most of my diet is a lot of carbs and protein. So, you know, when you're focusing on these, when you're focusing on carbohydrates, focus on the healthy options. A lot of people worry a lot about carbs, and there's really no point to worry about it. As long as you're focusing on the healthier types of carbs, complex carbs are the healthier options. You've got whole grains, anything of that sort, you're going to be fine as long as you focus on the healthier carbs. Protein. Protein is essential for muscle growth, repair, and overall health. I've really explained a ton on protein. So be sure to hit those daily protein goals based on your activity level and fitness goals. If you're focusing on muscle gain, you really need to monitor your protein intake. When it comes to protein intake with a muscle gain goal, usually that protein intake should match your current body weight. So, for example, if I weigh 150 pounds, I would want to consume at least 150 grams of protein per day. So that's going to change depending on how much you weigh. So that's generally the guideline that you want to focus on when you're, sort of monitoring your protein intake. So common mistakes for macronutrients. So people often estimate portions rather than measure them accurately. This can lead to underestimating or overestimating macronutrient intake, not adjusting the balance of carbs, proteins, and fats based on personal fitness goals. You do need to sort of pay attention to those as your fitness goals change. So some may consume too many fats or carbs while neglecting protein or vice versa. So you got to have a good balance with those. Even if your goal is fat loss, again, like I touched on a little bit ago, you still want to have protein intake. Yes, protein intake is really beneficial with muscle gain, but at the same time, it still plays a key role in a fat loss goal, and having the proper balance of those nutrients are just as important. Even if we're focusing on fat loss, it's still going to be as important as with muscle gain. So you got to have protein intake and other nutrients in your diet for each of those goals. Your calorie intake is just going to be what's primarily the different factor. So, focusing on packaged or processed foods that fit within macronutrient goals are often high in unhealthy ingredients like sodium, additives, and artificial sugars. So, keep that in mind. Consuming too much of one macronutrient while under consuming others, some people more believe more protein or carbs will automatically lead to muscle gain or injury or energy. But excess macronutrients can be stored as fats. So keep in mind either goal, it's important to have a proper balance in all of your macronutrients. And it's more about the quality of those nutrients as well as monitoring your calorie intake at the same time. So that's what you need to sort of be aware of. And just keep these sort of common mistakes in mind when you're trying to track your macronutrients and focus on reaching your goal. So that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this live stream. I apologize for sort of the delay that I had earlier, but I really wanted to sort of redo this and start from the beginning and really go through this topic because I feel like it's an important topic. It's a topic that not a lot of people are very knowledgeable, I guess I should say, on. And that's why I wanted to go over this with you. Again, I hope you guys find this helpful and valuable. And I really am interested in, hearing any of your thoughts that you may have on this particular topic. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Again, you can check out my website, which is bponlinefitness.com. I continue to update it daily and to, add any new live streams that I post on the homepage. So this live stream will be there. Of course, if you miss any of the live streams, they are archived on my YouTube channel. So I keep those available to you and to check out. If you have any questions on those, feel free to comment. I'll have this live stream uploaded, of course, for you to be able to view even on your own time. So thank you guys for watching. Again, feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I will have another live stream next week at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, where I'll be discussing another great topic. I'll have that event posted very soon towards the end of this week. But thank you guys for taking time to watch this. I hope, again, that you find this helpful and valuable, and reach out if you have any questions. But with all that being said, I will see you guys next week in the next live stream. So thank you guys for watching.